company regarding the definition and meaning of the company and the characteristics of the company. Today we are going to take an overview of procedure for incorporation of company. For particularly, I have to write here for private company only. In our particular syllabus, there is no idea regarding the public limited companies such like Reliance and Tata. We have only the procedure up till the incorporation of private limited. There is one more stage rather I can say, other than preliminary stage and incorporation stage to establish a public limited company. But if you want to establish a private limited company, this much things work out. Okay, so what does it mean? First, preliminary stage. One particular stage contains several steps to incorporate the company. Such like in preliminary stage, there are 5 steps you have to follow to complete that particular preliminary stage of incorporation of company. So what does it say? First thing, idea. Particular group of people or one person can generate an idea to run a particular business by which more than one person, or we can say a group of persons, can earn lots of money. Such type of idea must be there to establish a company. You cannot say a particular company can establish a particular point of time and it is only up to, it is beneficial only for the particular family or a small group. No. Any company, whether it is a private limited or a public limited, it is going to affect and benefit the mass of the people in the society. Therefore, it is very much important in commerce that you have to learn regarding the companies. As and when you gradually move forward in commerce sections, you know whatever the learning you have taken in past or what you are going to learn in future, 90% of the knowledge is related to company and its different types. So, particular idea of a person or a group of a person is needed. It is also called a seed for the giant tree of a company. Idea is also called a seed. So it is also stated in your textbook that it is a brainchild of a promoter. Okay, the person who got the idea is called the promoter or promoters. So you have to keep in mind, Mukesh Ambani is not a promoter. He is a managing director of the company, or you can say rather a main owner or a majority owner of the company, but he is not a promoter. Idea of Reliance is generated by the Dhirubhai Ambani. So he must be, or friend circle of Dhirubhai Ambani must be called the promoters of Reliance. So you have to keep in mind that what is the difference between the current managing director position and the promoter. Promoter is the person who got the idea for a particular business. Right now, the head of the Tata Group is Ratan Tata, but he is not the promoter. JRD Tata is the promoter of Tata Group. At particular time, he got the idea to establish a Tata business. So now you got what does it mean by promoter and idea. You need one idea, one stupendous idea that by that you can earn the money and you can help other people to earn money, whether it may be by share investment in share of your company, employment in your company, contractual basis agreement by with your company, and so with like so many types of their to earn the money by the company. Idea. Say for example, I give you an example of an idea. I have an idea to collect the soil of the moon and sell it on the earth because it is very rare. So I have an idea of to establish a drastic idea that very fertile soil of the moon, we are extracting the soil from that particular place and selling all over the world. So I have an idea. Can I be a promoter? Yes, I can become a promoter. If I am able to establish such a company, I can be a promoter. But only the idea is not the preliminary stage. There is 4 more steps. And this particular idea will be cross-checked by the second step of preliminary investigation, or you can say primary investigation. In primary investigation, what you have to do? You have to think regarding whether this idea is feasible, whether this idea is possible to execute. So now you can understand that idea of getting the soil of the moon and set it on earth is not practically possible. So my idea dropped out. My company cannot be established. So I have to get an idea which is practically possible, feasible, and by which I can earn the money. This is the primary investigation. You have to consult your nearby group, whether it is your friends or your family. If there will be a perfect group regarding the if you have a perfect business circle in your family, your primary investigation can be done in like that. But if it is not, you have to go through the step number 3, extensive investigation. In extensive investigation, you have to approach the expert like CACS and other consultants regarding your idea of business and your primary investigation of your friends and family. That I have this much of idea and I have discussed it with my friends and family. This is the outcome. As an expert, what you can suggest me, that is called extensive investigation. And that particular experts go through your idea, think on it, and generate a business model. If it is possible, then they can generate a business model out of it and suggest you to mobilize your resources. What does it mean by mobilize of resources? Mobilize your to start any business, you have to gather all the resources needed for that particular business. Say for example, if I am going to establish a pencil factory, I have to manufacture a pencil, stationery product. What resources I have to mobilize? I have to purchase a land needed for the particular factory, machinery, technicians and laborers which can operate and manage that particular machinery. So there are lots of resources like land, building, equipments, machinery, manpower, and last and but most important is all the mobilization of resources can only be done if I can able to arrange the finance, cash power, vitamin M. So unless and until I can follow all the 5 steps of preliminary investigation, I cannot able to move further incorporation stage, because this is a legal documentation stage of my idea, which I have discussed in my group and with the experts. And after that, I have mobilized my resources, gathered my resources, and arranged the finance for that particular idea. And now my idea is ready to form, to incorporate. And then after I have to go through the stage 2. Okay, what does it state in stage 2? There are legal names like memorandum of association, articles of association, written consent, and affidavit. Okay, affidavit is the familiar word. Affidavit of a directors, then it is declaration, then it's disclosure of interest in other firm or a company. So all these things are legal procedure and actual procedure for establishment of company. Unless and until you go through all the 6 steps, you cannot establish a company. After completion of all the 6 steps, if the registrar of the company to whom you have to submit all these documents, yes, if all 6 things are the documents, legal documents of the establishment of the company, you have to submit these documents to the registrar of the company. And if he finds all these things okay, then he will issue certificate of incorporation, and then your private limited firm is established. Such like Balaji Wafers Private Limited, you have to write the name private, the word private limited after name of your company. This much procedure is only for the private limited. If you want to establish a public limited, like Reliance Industries Limited, Tata Corporation, then you have to add 7 more steps and one stage number 3, to commencement, to get certificate of commencement of business. That is the 3rd step for the public limited, which is not in your syllabus. You can learn in further in college or XYZ things. And that particular thing, by certificate of commencement of business, you can establish a public limited company. But if you want to establish a private limited company, this much of idea, primary investigation, extensive investigation, mobilization of resources, then arrangement of finance. First stage is done. Second stage, memorandum of association, articles of association, written consent, affidavit of directors, declaration, and disclosure of the interest in other firm or a company is needed. And if all the things goes on perfectly, then your company will be generated by registrar of the company with the help of certificate called incorporation. Okay students, so now we are discussing preliminary stage in detail, one by one topic as per given in your textbook. So in preliminary stage, what is stated in your textbook, page number 92, that is, this is the first stage involving the conception of the idea of setting up a company and the primary and extensive investigation of the feasibility of the idea, the requirement of the resources and capital. Thus, the promotion of the company can be considered through the following steps. So, these 5 steps are given in the preliminary stage, and one by one we are going to discuss all of this. Okay, particular stage number 1, containing point number 1, idea, is most IMP for the examination, and it is given very elaborately in your textbook. So, we are going through line by line. Page number 92, point number 3.3.1.1, the idea for the promotion of the company or a business. It is stated in your textbook that the concept of the idea of the business by one person or a group of persons starts the process of business formation and consequently the idea of establishing a company for the same. So a group of a person or a single person make an idea for a particular business, or we can say growing company, not a simple small business but a large scale company. The idea which can be expanded up to the large scale company, not for the only small type of business, no. So this company format which will help us to grow with whole society. And what is the benefit for the particular idea? It is stated, okay, this idea is given, I have already explained it, promoter. Okay, promoters are the persons who are the company maker. You can say the company maker people. They are called the promoter. The idea of the company will be the child of this promoter's mind. So it is stated in your textbook that the idea is the seed of the business, and the promoter who conceived the idea, who conceived this idea. Okay, it is stated in your textbook that the idea is the seed of the business, and the promoter who conceived the idea uses his imagination and creativity to give it concrete form, and he is also ready to bear many risks. So promoter is the person who bears the risk, who conceived this idea and start the small business from this idea and make that particular small business up to the large scale, or we can say huge or a giant scale company, corporate structure. So for that particular task, promoter have to bear many risks, or we can say number of risks, and a very huge type of risk. And then there is a last line in your paragraph. He converts idea into the implementation by mobilizing manpower, material and capital resources to carry out the business. What a promoter have to do to create a business, to start a business and run that particular business towards a large scale company? What he have to do? He have to do particularly three things. Mobilizing manpower. He have to gather manpower or a different section which is required for that particular work or a business. Then after gathering the manpower, he has some material to work upon, and that material which might be a raw material or a semi-finished goods or a finished goods which he is going to sell to the customer. And last, and for both the things, material and manpower, how we can gather the material and manpower? Okay, we need some capital. So capital resources are very much required to start that particular business, to grow this particular idea. Thus, company comes into existence, and company is known as a brainchild of a promoter. This is the line which we have to explain, for particular question. If it is asked, explain, company is the brainchild of the promoter, you need to elaborate all this paragraph of 3.3.1.1. This is the answer. It might be for 2 or 3 marks. So I have already said it is very much important topic. Next topic, primary investigation. Okay, we have already discussed regarding the primary investigation, but what is given in your textbook? After considering the idea and its possibility, the economic viability is checked out with the help of experts. Okay, idea is routine, regular, which we can implement, but is it so? No, we have to consult with our elders, friends who are in the category of experts. So what we have to do, after considering the idea and its possibility, we have considered the idea and we have checked this idea is possible for the business or not. If answer is yes, what we have to do, we have to do the economic viability is checked out with the help of experts. What we have to do, we have to check economic viability. What does it mean? It means whether this idea of the business is allowed, or we can say valid economically. Can you perform this business economically viable? That means, can you earn the profit from this particular idea? If you cannot earn the profit for a long term, this idea is economically not viable at all. So we have to check whether the idea is economically viable or not. The expenditure and income estimate is taken, and if the result is satisfactory, further detailed survey is conducted. In primary investigation, what you have to do, you have to check for this particular business how much expenditure I have to incur. After the list of the expenditure, we have to list one more thing, that is income of the business. How much income I can generate from this particular business, and when you compare income and expenditure, if incomes are more than expenditure, you can say that this particular business, this particular idea is primarily economically viable. And then after, we have to check thoroughly in the extensive investigation. So now point number 3, extensive investigation. This is one step more than primary. So it is very much important practically. Extensive investigation is very much important. How it is important? There can be advanced result if thorough investigation is not undertaken. Okay, adverse result. If we do not consider extensive investigation for that one particular idea, we have to face adverse result for not considering the extensive investigation. What we have to do is, in extensive investigation, the government policy, we have to check for our business whether the government is supportive or not. Then legal provision, legally this business is okay or not. Then availability of the raw material is availability of raw material is easy or is it hard to get raw material for that particular idea of the business. We have to check it primarily, and then the demand and supply situation. What is the demand and supply situation of your business idea, your goods or services? Right now, after a year, after a 5 year, after a 10 year, you have to estimate your demand and supply. Whether you can supply that particular goods in long term, whether there will be a demand for that particular goods in the long term, you have to check it thoroughly in detail. And then what you have to do, the availability of the auxiliary services. Auxiliary services means support your services. Some type of electronics goods are there which we need supportive auxiliary services like water filter. We have to regularly refill the particular candle things in water filter. If you all of us are using nowadays mobile phone, we have to check that particular company having a good service station of mobile services. If our mobile have broken or XYZ problem occurs, what have to do? If service station is easily not available in our city or nearby area. So auxiliary services are much more important, and you have to check whether our goods, our idea of the business having auxiliary services, can we create auxiliary services for our business idea or not? We have to check. All these things are come in extensive investigation. So this is a very important point, as I have already marked it. Practically, if you are starting a business, extensive investigation is must. Not only for the company purpose, for any business purpose, these 5 points are must important. If these 5 points for any business, small business or large scale business must have to follow these steps before starting the particular idea. But you can use these all 5 points in your small scale business, individual shop business or lower than that also. You can follow these 5 particular idea. Next, it is said that auxiliary services etc. are carefully checked. What we have to, I am repeating once again, what we have to carefully check. First is the government policy. Second, legal provision. Third, availability of raw material. Fourth, demand and supply situation. Fifth, and the most important, the availability of the auxiliary services etc. are carefully checked. So that clear picture is created which help to decide whether to proceed with a plan to establish a company or not. So after extensive investigation, it is very much clear, or I can say 100% clear, that whether we have to start with whether we have to go for the company creation or not. It is very much clear after this particular stage. And if the answer is yes, what we have to do, then we have to do these 2 things. Okay, this is, I can say this is only 1 point, but theoretically as per a textbook, these are separate points: mobilization of resources and arrangement of finance. If you cannot arrange the finance, you cannot mobilize your resources. So what is given in your textbook? First, mobilization of resources, point number 4. If it is decided to proceed with the project after the extensive investigation, answer is yes. If it is decided, arrangement for the resources, like which resources we have to mobilize, which resources. Here the mobilization word is used in place of here it is given arrangement. So what we have to arrange, arrangement of resources like equipments, machinery, tools, land will be made, and necessary correspondence, contracts and formalities will be undertaken. All these things are considered by mobilization of resources. So all we have together all the particular goods, services, machinery, land, building, contracts, legal terms and conditions, formalities. All these particular things comes under the step number 4. And for this particular thing, if we need a machinery, if we need a tools, we need to enter into a contract with the parties. What we have to do? We have to arrange the finance. And what is given in textbooks for the mobilizing the resources and for the promotion expenses, finance will be required. Finance are used in terms of capital, in terms of money, arrangement of money. The type of activity and the amount of fund required by the company as well as the sources of capital will be considered. How you can create the capital is considered with this particular 5 step. Okay, so this is the primary investigation for incorporation of company. If you go through all this step in the textbook, it is much more easier than the next step which we are going to learn in the next lecture, and it is very much easier to understand theoretically as well as practically. While next lecture is going a little bit hard one, because there is lots of legal terminology and legal terms and conditions which we have to learn first time in our lives. So be ready, or I suggest you before that particular lecture you must go through the textbook page number 93, incorporation stage, or we can say how we can get a certificate of incorporation. We have 6 different points, and last topic also the certificate of incorporation at the end of the chapter, rather I can say in the next lecture will be the last lecture of this particular chapter. And after that particular lecture you can know all the points of establishment of company, incorporation of company. I can say that you can theoretically you can establish a company. You know all the legal formalities to establish a company. So go through the page number 93 of your textbook and be ready for our next lecture or last lecture of this chapter. Till then, thank you.